Hello, and welcome to Your Extraordinary Life. I'm your host, Deanna Naylor. My desire is for each of you to live out the best life possible, to really stretch you from where you currently are and move you closer and more into extraordinary in every single aspect of your life. We cover so many things here, from relationships to health and emotional well-being. And today, I'm so excited about our guest. He's going to be bringing us resources and encouragement around our finances and just how we can live out extraordinary in our financial world. I'll tell you, at one point in my life, after my divorce, I was making the most money I had ever made, and I was in the most debt I had ever been. Credit card debt really did own me at that point, and it stole my peace and serenity, and so I know how serious that can be. It stole my freedom, really. I felt like a prisoner to the bills that were coming in, and I just didn't know how to get out of it. So with that experience under my belt, I'm so passionate about Bob Brooks and his information and what he does on a daily basis to help people achieve financial freedom. We can really get out of where we are and get into a place of joy and happiness and that freedom that we all want. Bob Brooks is a wealth of knowledge around this topic and is such a powerful resource for you and me. He brings 23 years of experience in the financial services business. He works with his clients to meet and exceed their financial goals. Bob actually hosts a radio show and it's called The Prudent Money Show. And he is also author of a book called Deceptive Money, which is a step-by-step guide to getting out of debt completely. Bob, we're so happy to have you here. Welcome to Your Extraordinary Life.
Deanna, thank you so much for having me. You know, I get to do a lot of interviews on the radio, and I'm never on this side of the interview, so it's great to be with you, and I really appreciate it.
It's a different seat for sure. We're so glad to have you. Bob, share with us a little bit about how you got so passionate around the financial business in the first place, how you got into it.
Well, it's interesting. Growing up as a child, I was always interested and fascinated by money, the stock market, and how it all worked. And so I went to Baylor University, and they happened to have a degree plan, one of the few colleges in the country that actually had this degree plan to where you could go through and learn everything about financial planning in the financial services industry. And it's a real key value driver for me because I love to help people. I love to problem solve. And I love to educate. And so I get to do this on a daily basis and through my practice and through the radio show and everything else that I do.
Well, and you've taken it to not just helping your clients, but you've taken it to reaching millions with this message of financial freedom. You actually have a radio show called The Prudent Money Radio Show. Tell us a little bit how you got involved with that.
Well, Deanna, I always say that God had a sense of humor when he presented this opportunity to me because I didn't see it coming. I was running my practice, and someone had came up to me and said, "Hey, I know this gentleman named Don Spear, and he's wanting to retire. He's wanting somebody to take over his practice." And so we got introduced. And what was ironic about this is that we were in the same building on the same floor at opposite ends of the floor, and we didn't know each other. But our paths finally did cross. We talked and discussed and figured out how to do this. And so I ended up buying his practice. But Don had other ideas because he had a radio show that for, I think, about 20 years. And so he goes, Bob, and Don was great. He goes, I really want you to take over the radio show. And I got to tell you, I really didn't. I was pretty hesitant. I didn't want to, but I'm so thankful for him because he stayed on me. And it just really all worked out. I took over the show and still took it over 2002, January 2002, and still fortunate enough to be doing it today.
And it's impacted so many in such a powerful way. You have thousands and thousands of listeners across the nation that really do benefit from your wealth of knowledge. And not only that, you have the radio show, which is a big investment of time, and you have your clients, and then you also took time to write a book called Deceptive Money, which I love that title, by the way. Tell us a little bit about that book and what motivated you to write that.
Well, I got to tell you, it was a labor of love, if anything. I mean, it took me 3 years to write it. And I remember starting out on the radio show back in 2002, very inexperienced, really learning as I was going on, getting questions through email and live on the radio that I knew about 75% of that answer. So what I would do, everything was really revolving around debt at this time. So I'd go back and I would research and learn. And so I realized real quick that there's a lot of really bad information, and there needed to be a book written to tell people how the game is played, because it is a game and you have to know the rules, because it's important to understand how to do it the right way. And there's so many resources that don't go through it the right way. So it took me a very long time to write it and put it together. And something that you said earlier in your introduction, encouragement. This is one of the things I talk to many people. They'll come into my office just discouraged, no hope. And what I tell them is you just have to learn the process. You got to get educated. This is a theme throughout everything that we're doing here. You got to get an education. And I show them there is a way, because there's always room for encouragement. There's always room for hope, no matter what the situation is.
And there's so many people that really have lost that hope. And that's what I'm really excited about, what you're doing with Bobby Vitality and the channel that you have already created courses around. Tell us a little bit about how you and Bobby came to know each other, which is co-founder of the Vitality Network. How you came to know each other, and then how the Prudent Money channel came to be.
Well, it's kind of a funny story. Bobby had heard me on the radio. And so if you know Bobby, he's full of passion, full of energy. He calls me up, hey, this is Bobby Vitality. And I was listening to you on the radio, and you and I need to get together for lunch. And it was kind of one of these things. I don't know why we need to get together, but I assume that there's a reason. So we got together over a period of a year or so, got to know each other, developed such a great relationship. And it was funny because we both knew there was some project somewhere we were supposed to do together, but we didn't know really what it was. So about a year later, I get a phone call, and Bobby's all excited, and he said, hey, listen, I've got the project. I want you to come down to the studios. I want to tell you about the Vitality Network, what we're doing. I want you to be a part of it. And I was very excited, Deanna, to be able to do this, because of the fact it just takes the ability to get out a message and expands it to other resources. And I think this is going to be an incredible resource for people to learn about health, about money, and what it takes to be successful.
And you actually have been named the financial editor of the Vitality Network. So not only are you have a channel called the Prudent Money Channel, you have the position of the financial editor. Tell us a little bit about what you see the vision of in the financial arena with the Vitality Network overall.
Well, Deanna, we've got to change the way people think about money. I mean, that's what it comes down to. The unfortunate reality is that we go grades 1 through 12. If we're fortunate enough, we go to college, and with zero education about money, which is just hard for me to believe, because you get out of college, you get a job, you're making more money than you ever made. Now you're expected to make decisions that you really don't have an education for. And this is where so many mistakes are made. So my vision, along with Bobby, is to create this outlet, this place, this resource that you can go and you can get challenged in the way that you're thinking, and that you can develop your own belief system about how money works. You know, I talk about belief renting. And I think there's a lot of this that goes on when it comes to money. And the belief renting is you'll listen to me and you'll say, well, you know, Bob said this. I get that sounds right. I guess that's the way things work. So that's what I'll believe. Now, you don't know why you believe that, because you're renting my belief. And there's a lot of people with a lot of agenda that want you to believe a certain way. You got to own your beliefs. You have to know the pros and the cons. And you know, it's my hope that through this process, we're going to challenge the way people think about money. People are going to think differently, make better decisions, and become a lot more successful in the future.
That drives me and just motivates me to want to get you out there more, especially to our viewers, because I'm all about living extraordinary lives and helping people to do that. And finances is such a barrier for people, and they get locked up, and then their health is affected, their family relationships are affected, all due to finances. I mean, one of the number one reasons for divorce is finances. So your channel is going to bring resources to be able to help people get free of that. And you mentioned that there's a ton of content out there. There's a ton of resources out there. Tell us a little bit about what you see as different with your courses and the Vitality Network, and specifically your channel.
Well, fortunately, because of the radio show and covering all topics when it comes to money, not just information about investments, but information about making this, how you make decisions, uh, information about how you go about the process of managing your cash flow, managing your expenses, setting goals. We do a course on marriage and some of the key communication aspects of marriage and why, when you're talking about that divorce statistic, I think that the number one reason for divorce when it comes to money really is not money. It's the ineffective use of communication. And so we talk about every aspect, even down to consumer choices about buying a car. Of course, we cover debt and credit and all of these areas. And this is what I think, Deanna, is that, and this goes on the health side too, is that as you improve your level of education, as you improve your decision making and make better decisions, it has a ripple effect on your life, making all other areas of your life so much better. If a couple, as a good example, if a couple can learn how to communicate on money, they can communicate on anything. Let's face it, it's a toxic subject. So that's what we're trying to do with these videos and make sure that it's a very well-rounded approach. I'm constantly thinking of ideas and information that we can get out there. We want hundreds, literally hundreds of videos. I'm going to be bringing all types of resources in through interviews, some of the best minds in the country that can speak to specifically subjects about money that I have a broad understanding about, but not a specific understanding about. So we want to bring all the resources that you need to be successful with money.
I have already watched a few of your courses and have already benefited from some. And I feel like
Thank
you go deeper. Like you just did with the statistic on divorce. You go past the surface problem of money or the appeared problem and dig into, okay, what's really going on? And you help people to do that in a way that is very unique in the financial world. So I'm excited to share that with even some people that are close to me that I see struggling with finances. Tell me what some of your favorite courses are that you have out there.
Well, the couple that come to mind, I love the course. I put a course together on credit reports and credit scoring. And basically, just do this one course. If viewers will watch this one course, they will learn the appropriate way to go through and the most effective way to increase and improve their credit score and get their credit reports where they need to. And this is one of the objectives, is to go down below the surface. I talk a lot about pop culture finance. And to me, this is the problem. This is our educational resources that we have today, is that it's all very surface level type information, to where it teaches you these principles and they'll say, well, this is how it works. Well, you got to dive deeper into it. You got to get below the surface and really see the mechanics of how things work with money. So I do that. And you talk about favorite courses, kind of got off track there, is that the ones on investments. I talk about how markets really work. And I know a lot of people are intimidated when it comes to learning and trying to understand how stock markets work and everything, but I drill it down to where we don't talk in financialese. And I always call that the language of talking about money that nobody understands. And we have a real bad habit of doing that in our business. So I take the viewer through the history of the stock market, and you start to see why pop culture finance doesn't always make the most sense. And there are two sides to every story, and you got to think for yourself.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Knowledge is one thing, but taking that into intentional action and creating change
Yes.
in lives, and that's what you help to do, is really take that information and move towards intentional action.
Absolutely, Deanna. I mean, it comes down to application. You've got to be able to, one of the things I think people will do is they'll go and they'll get the books, make them feel better. Maybe they'll read the books, they'll watch the videos, and then they don't make the decision to take action. And it could be because of fear. And there's a lot of reasons why people don't take action. But what we want to do is motivate you to get beyond that, take the actions you need to take, and do things differently so you get different results.
So I want you to talk to the Vitality Network viewer out there, or your Extraordinary Life viewer, and look at them and say, okay, they're currently stuck. They don't believe that they can get out of where they are into financial freedom. What do you hope the outcome is with your courses and the Vitality Network in general for someone like that? Just speak to that person real quick.
Well, first, I want them to believe they can get out of debt. If it's debt or whatever the financial situation is, there's always a way out. That is the honest truth. There's always a way out. It just comes down to doing things different, believing different, believing that there is a way out, and getting an education. And I think that for most people, once they get in that position where you get stuck, it's really difficult to climb out of that, because all of a sudden you're in that spot, your beliefs start turning negative, and you convince yourself there's no way out. We want to change all that and show you that there is hope, show you that there is a way out, and that you can have an extraordinary life.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Bob, this has been so valuable. I end this show every time with one question, and that question is, what do you believe is a crucial ingredient to live out an extraordinary life?
Well, when it comes to finances, Deanna, I really think it comes down, it's kind of a layered approach, but I think it comes down to decision making. We're not very good decision makers when it comes to money. And the reason we're not is because we don't have a good understanding of how money works. And the reason we don't have a good understanding is we never got the education. So it all ties together. And then once we build on that pyramid of getting the education, of application, different decisions, becoming a better decision maker, then here's where it happens. The extraordinary life, there's the ripple effect across the board, and everything rises to the surface and things get better, and you have that extraordinary life.
I love that. Bob Brooks, thank you so much. I want to have you back on this show
Would love to
dig deeper into some of the key things that you teach. We really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Deanna. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bob Brooks is going to be such a gift to the Vitality Network. His channel and his courses are going to benefit you and me greatly. I have no doubt. And just based on what I've heard, I'm going to dive straight into Bob's channel. I know you're going to do the same thing. You can just click on the Prudent Money channel from the description below this show and start where you are. Don't let fear or negative tapes keep you from taking one step at a time to get your financial goals, to get to your financial goals. Really claim what you want, claim that financial freedom, and then move past it to extraordinary. Set some realistic, time-based goals and get into action. Clarity and positive action makes changes. It really does. I know how you feel. I really do. I can put myself in a situation 10 years ago where I was covered in debt and I did not think that I could get out of where I was, and it was paralyzing. And I'm a walking testimony that you can take intentional action and get out of it and get freedom. I have financial freedom today, and it's such a gift because I can live extraordinary a lot easier. So get support, ask for help, and from those that have walked a similar path, and by all means, leverage the Prudent Money channel. It's going to benefit you so much. And until next time, I want you to go be extraordinary.